And we are back, episode 2 of the 3&D podcast. We got more Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving news coming out today. Multiple reports, couple of different sources, and it all seems to be about this Kyrie Irving situation. So I clicked on this tweet right here by senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski, and I actually went ahead and clicked onto the article, and all I needed to screenshot was the first part of the article. And the article reads, Kyrie Irving's search for leverage on his contract discussions with the Brooklyn Nets won't be found with the threat of a $30 million pay cut to sign with the LA Lakers. But the sum of the franchise's deepest fears, Irving walks and Kevin Durant wants a trade. So by not staying with the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving would essentially be taking a $30 million pay cut. Now you might think, yeah, most players won't take a pay cut, but this is Kyrie Irving we're talking about. And that leads me to this next clip right here.
In him. Now, the Lakers are considered the most significant threat right now for Kyrie Irving, but that would essentially entail him taking $30 million less than he can opt into in Brooklyn. There's a $6 million taxpayer exemption he could sign with the Lakers with. Now, most people would say a player's not going to give up that much money, but Kyrie Irving gave up nearly $17 million last year because of his refusal to get vaccinated. He lost a significant shoe deal with Nike, or is in the process of losing that shoe deal with Nike. So I think that the Nets have gone into this with their eyes open, that it's possible he could walk. He has done things differently in his career.
Look, man, he took a stand on the vaccine and left a lot of money on the table. Nike contract also up in the air. This is a guy that's made a good amount of money already, and even if he does leave some money on the table with the Nets, he would still be making millions somewhere. Notice they mentioned the tax exempt about $6 million if he was to sign with the Lakers. Now we are also starting to see rumors, and I don't know how accurate this source is right here, but here it is. Kyrie Irving possibly having conversations with LeBron James about maybe a reunion, playing together again. And it all leads me to the point on why I'm making this video right here. If Kyrie Irving was to leave the Brooklyn Nets, is Kevin Durant going to ask for a trade? You don't need to be a magician to know that the Brooklyn Nets are concerned with Kevin Durant possibly requesting a trade if they weren't able to hold on to Kyrie Irving. So I do think that the Nets are trying to make it happen, trying to make a contract work for both sides in order to not have that pending, looming, possible Kevin Durant trade request. But let's look at a scenario in where Kyrie Irving doesn't stay with the Brooklyn Nets. What would that mean for Kevin Durant? How would it even look? What would that mean for his career if he was to request a trade, and where could he possibly end up? Lately on social media, a lot of people have been saying KD to the Boston Celtics. That would be the wildest thing. I don't see that happening. See, looking back at history, you know what Kevin Durant did. He joined the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, went on to win 2 championships, but that was also the team that he had a 3-1 lead on in the playoffs, and they ultimately bounced him from the playoffs. Then he ends up joining them. Is he going to join the Boston Celtics that swept him in the first round? Would he really, after getting swept, join that same team the following season? I'm leaning towards no. There's no way that he makes this decision twice in his career. The first time it led to championships, so you never really know. But I just think he went to the Brooklyn Nets to try to establish his own legacy. You know, win a championship somewhere else that wasn't with the Golden State Warriors. So leaving now, it's almost like saying, yeah, I couldn't get it done, and it is what it is. Reality is they no longer have James Harden. If they were to lose Kyrie, he would really only have Ben Simmons as another quote-unquote superstar. So would Kevin Durant really want to request a trade? Furthermore, he would need to join a contender or somewhere where he felt that he was going to compete for a title, because otherwise, what's the point? You know what I mean? Why would you relocate, go to a new fan base, go to a new city, start from scratch all over again if you're not going to be competing for a championship? You can basically scratch off any team that doesn't have a contending roster at the moment as a destination for Kevin Durant. With that being said, where would he go? What really stands out to me here is that timing is everything. If you get a certain sequence of events that lead up to some kind of buildup, That's when you see things like trades being requested and players not signing contracts that maybe they should sign. It's just based on the circumstances and the timeline on how things take place. So taking a look back at the pandemic, the situation with the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving not wanting to get the vaccine, New York getting the vaccine mandate, which a lot of states didn't have, but Kyrie Irving had to deal with that. It was just a unfortunate sequence of events. James Harden requested a trade. Then they go ahead and get swept in the first round. Maybe all of those things is actually enough of a buildup for Kevin Durant to just be like, hey, I gave it my best effort. I'm ready to move on. I only have X amount of years left in my career, and I want to make the most of it. Maybe the Nets is not the place for me. Now, here's my question to you guys. How would you view Kevin Durant if he requested a trade? Personally, I don't think it would be a good look. But if there's one thing I know, Kevin Durant does not care. If that's what Kevin Durant wants to do, he will request a trade and he will end up on another roster. I just feel like if you did it once, you could do it again. Now, let me go back and revisit last week's episode with the Kyrie Irving situation. Somebody mentioned that, what about a 3-team trade? And that is absolutely a possibility. Last video, I mentioned that I couldn't see a trade where the Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets came to an agreement on a trade that made sense, but I completely overlooked the fact that you can have multiple teams get involved and make it a 3-team deal. So I went ahead and did just a little bit of research, and I actually came across a couple of scenarios in where a 3-team deal, including Kyrie Irving being moved from the Brooklyn Nets, would make sense for everyone involved. Going over my Twitter feed again, supposedly there are teams rooting for Kyrie Irving to opt out and walk away from the Nets, believing it would give them a chance to cobble together trade packages to acquire Kevin Durant. So teams are already strategizing and putting together kind of packages that they would present to the Brooklyn Nets if Kyrie Irving was to walk away and KD would become available via trade. All of this is developing really fast, so I'm going to keep you guys posted on anything that ends up happening moving forward here, because obviously it's Kyrie Irving and KD. Whatever moves they make is going to shake up the league. But with that being said, boys, give me your feedback, man. Give me your thoughts on this Kevin Durant possibly requesting a trade scenario. Kyrie Irving situation. Is he going to opt in, stay with the Brooklyn Nets, and just make all of this go away? Give me your thoughts down below in the comments, man. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Episode 2 of the 3 and D podcast. I'm checking out.